This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Join us today for a cup of coffee to look at the latest episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch. Episode 4 cornered. We've got two returning guests to Coffee with Kenobi. First, we're going to bring in Ross Hollebon. Ross, how's it going, man?
I'm doing outstanding, Dan. Good to see you, and great to see our buddy Tom here as well.
Yes, the other guest, of course, is who joins me every week to talk about different episodes on Disney Plus of the Star Wars variety, Mr. Tom Gross.
Yes, hello everybody. It's great to be here. As always, loving this series, The Bad Batch, and it's always great to be with you, Dan, and Ross, to be talking to you again.
Awesome. Well, let's do this. As we do at the beginning of each and every show, we're going to give a letter grade, and then we're going to give overall impressions of the episode. Ross, you have the microphone, sir. What do you think?
I love what this did. Obviously bringing in someone that I'm sure we will talk about a little bit later in the episode, with the location, with the characters, with the movement. I'm going A-. And especially to squeeze that much into, I think it was the shortest episode yet. It was just brilliant. Great writing, great animation. Really had fun.
All right, so I'm glad that I had that impression on you. And I knew, because of course you are one of my rocks that I can lay the Facebook Live on, because I know I can always count on you. I knew that particular character that we'll talk about a lot was going to be a highlight for you. So I'm glad that it affected you the way that did. Tom, what about you? Something tells me that you really liked it as well.
Well, I mean, when you've got an episode that has some great chase moments, some great visuals, as you had mentioned, Ross, that flying into Pantora and looking over the city, and then almost the exact next cut was the landing in the docking bay. I just thought that looked really cool. The Marauder lowering down into that circle. You have the animated debut of a familiar face and voice. Our heroes display some weaknesses in this one, and just so this one, you're right, Ross. This was loaded with stuff. I give it a solid A.
Wow, I'm glad. Is this the highest rated one you've had so far?
I think so. Yep, it is.
I'm about to continue that trend. I'm going to give it an A-. I really enjoyed it. It felt the most Star Warsy of the first four, as far as classic Star Wars thrills, laughs, adventure, great cost, a great chase sequence, some excellent fighting choreography, and a fun little twist at the end that makes you scratch your head. It was a great episode, a lot of fun. Let's just jump right into it. We start off where, of course, the Bad Batch has got to go for their planet of the week, and they decide to go to Pantora, which, of course, and this is right from StarWars.com. So if you heard the word Pantora and you start to scratch your head and you think, where do I know that episode from, or that planet from? Well, season 1 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and also the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, I believe, has this planet. It is the principal moon of the Pantora system, orbiting the ice planet Orto Plutonia, and that is the one you probably recognize. So a member of the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars, Ryo Chuchi, Chuchi, represented Pantora in the Senate, while Baron Paranoida, who is, of course, George Lucas in the blue face paint, served as the Chancellor of Pantora after succeeding Chicho. At the start of the Age of the Empire, the marshy Outer Rim world struggles to maintain its business and industry under the new regime, with outposts like Rose Station, which, of course, we're going to visit, falling into disrepair. However, in the streets, the citizens rejoice over the end of the long and deadly war. So StarWars.com, the databank, has been updated to reflect this episode of The Bad Batch. So, Ross, when you first heard that we were going back to Pantora, what did you think?
I was just excited for, another visit to a planet and what kind of world building is going to happen here. And there was no disappointment there. It was equal parts, and this is something we discussed a little bit earlier as well, but it was really equal parts Coruscant level 1313, but also so many Black Spire outpost moments there as well. So just kind of a bizarre, and seeing the trading going on, seeing the vivid colors. It was beautiful how it all came together. Even in the darker areas, it was still luscious. So it really pulled you into the setting immediately.
It was very cool. It was very exciting. Again, I was thinking about, okay, where do we know this planet from? And of course, you see the blue skinned creatures. Tom, the fun never stops with your buddy. Who's your favorite character in the Bad Batch?
Well, Tech.
Tech, of course. Tech right away says, we got to scramble our ship's signature keys. We've got to land. If I'm going to do this, it's going to take a lot of work, naturally, as Ross sips from his Wrecker mug. I love it. And so they got to land on the ship. And then we meet a new character, Ross, who is from a very familiar species. Talk to us about that.
Is this Raspar 6, the Sullustan? So as soon as I saw him, so he has that little shadiness. And then I think it's really interesting that they gave him a toothpick.
Why do you say that?
Considering Crosshair always has his toothpick. So
that's true. Yeah.
Is that a kiss of death of some sort of like, hey guys, bad stuff's happening. The toothpick's coming into play. I saw him and I immediately was just like, can they put this into live action and have Danny DeVito please play him? So as he's working to try and, entice the bribe from Wrecker and Tech, it was just so fun that they're just like, oh, we're catching on to this thing about being normal people now and doing things the normal way. So it was super fun. It was cool to see. I'm thinking Pelimoto right away as well. Just like, okay, here's another manager of a hangar. How's this person going to play out? So it's fun to see that come to life a little bit more, and that more universal continuity for anywhere that people are going to land.
Right. It seems like no matter where you land in Star Wars, there's always a problem. There's always a problem. And the alien species you referred to, the Sullustan, if people are not familiar with what that means, if you know Snaggletooth from the classic Kenner line of action figures, that is the first Sullustan that we ever met. His name is Raspar 6, which is a very interesting name for an actual physical entity that isn't a droid. But Wrecker says, are you sure you want to scan it? And very, very intimidating. And he's like, I guess I won't. I thought that was pretty fun. Wrecker is still pretty much the same kind of character. He's a very static character. He's not certainly well-rounded yet, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Everybody can't be Hamlet. But I found him really charming in this one, Tom, especially when he and Tech are working on the Marauder. What did you think?
Oh, I loved that moment because, Tech deals in the small and the intricate and the, this goes to this, that goes to this, that no one else would see except Tech. But he has Wrecker come in and just start literally wrecking the ship. I mean, that first piece he pulls out, he just yanks it out of there. But I find it interesting that when he yanks that first piece out, Wrecker very neatly sets it up and down on the ground. And so it took a little bit of both of them to be able to begin the process of, disguising the signature code of the Marauder. But yeah, I love that dynamic between the two of those guys. Because, typically Tech has been hanging out with Echo.
Right.
And you've had that kind of partnership. And here we get to see a different dynamic in that relationship.
And we talked on Facebook Live tonight about the fun of, usually we see Echo and Tech together, but seeing Brawn and Brains together with Tech and Wrecker creates a very fun dynamic, doesn't it, Ross?
Yeah, that's the beauty of the characters and how they've been developed even since season 7 of the Clone Wars is just, these guys are plug and play with each other. And it works well for on screen, but it's going to work well as toys come out and, I know we don't open a lot of the things that we get, but the kids that do open them, hopefully they are, playing with them together and saying, hey, Wrecker's going to go with Hunter this time. And then Tech, you can go here. And just how many different adventures you can come up with based off of who each of these characters are and how well they've been developed to this point.
Yeah,
Nice.
Absolutely. Well said. So we get an option, we've got to go make some money because they're running out of rations and they need money just for basic fuel and necessities to survive in this new era of the galaxy. So we get a juxtaposition. There's our word from last week showing up again. Well, we've got, are we sightseeing or are we getting money, right? We've got the innocent versus the focus, the laser focus being that is Hunter. Of course, he brings Omega with him. What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, a lot of things could go wrong. They're out trying to get money. Hunter has basically an explosive detonator, which plays a part later due to the classic Chekhovian method of storytelling. If you show a loaded gun at the beginning of the act, you've got to have it fire by the end of the story, right? And we finally get that payoff. We finally get that connection. Mm-hmm. So we go into the first area. This really reminded me of Batu. We said this again on Facebook Live, but the whole planet Pantora felt like Batu. Certainly the architecture. Doug Chiang designed a lot of Batu and Galaxy's Edge. Naturally, his design, as well as Ralph McQuarrie's, influences the creation of the Bad Batch and this world building as well. But walking around in town, now I know you haven't been to Galaxy's Edge, but one of
the few people in the galaxy.
Well, but that's going to change soon. You're going to be there certainly within the next year, a couple of times, in fact. But what did you think? I've heard Batu, I've heard Coruscant. Did Pantora walking around that city do anything for you?
Yeah, it's funny. What I saw was neither one of those. And where my mind went was, there's some similarities to, oh my gosh, I just lost the name of it, Lothal. There's some similarities to Lothal, even to the point of where they encounter the person carrying the fruit, and the fruit drops. There's a scene almost exactly like that in Rebels. And I think it's great. This one turns out a little differently. There's a definite lesson learned in this one about when you have no money that you help yourself, which is a little bit different message than we get in Rebels. But that's where my brain went when I saw this. Of course, we do have an almost immediate mirror to where the last place they were with Cut, where it's the chain codes, and even Hunter says, or was it Hunter or someone says, oh, they're collecting chain codes here. Or you see the exact same holographic message to the population. And so you're really getting the feeling that the Empire has their hands on all planets, and that this is a race against time for someone who wants to try to get ahead of that. And so I really felt a lot of pressure from them when they walk in and they see that again. They see the people cheering the clone army, and I think it's really interesting, kind of the different takes. We as the viewer sitting outside the story see like this is not good. These are Imperial soldiers now, not clones, but it continues to be described as the war is over. The war, Hunter says that to Omega, the war is over. And so, it's hard to picture that understanding because we know exactly where it goes.
Yeah. And in fact, it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Right. In a very, very different style, different approach. Speaking of different styles, we didn't mention this. It's my favorite aspect of the entire episode, and it's Echo. Oh. I've always liked Echo fine. Right, I think Star Wars has this cool thing where there are certain characters that you're like, or you're just like, okay, they're there and whatever, and you're sort of ambivalent. But as soon as Echo pulls down that face shield, and I said to Mason, "Oh, he's a droid now." I don't even think Echo realized he was disguised as a droid, but he absolutely was. The whole thing was played for laughs. So we meet some new characters, and I'm going to read their names. We have Clink, who is the new best astromech ever with the arms. We've got 225, I believe, DK3, and CG67, who is the protocol droid. Ross, tell me about this wonderful collective.
Yeah, it was, Tech was thrown into, or Echo was thrown into the island of misfit toys in the back room of the shop there, where, even the bargaining was fantastic.
Yeah.
And seeing Echo being like, I'm worth way more than 2,000. This is ridiculous.
If I'm going to play along, you're going to have to sell me for a premium prices. Well, this is a military droid. I believe that's how he's described by Hunter.
Military protocol.
Yes.
It was so fun to go back there and then seeing that kind of seeing the protocol droid get so hot and bothered. Like, no, I'm the boss back here.
Yeah.
And then he breaks out the gun. Like, yeah, not really. We're, he's got the blaster. And okay, yep, we'll do what you need us to do.
CG67's like, oh my. Yeah. This was a tip I also gave. I'm mentioning Facebook Live a lot because we just did the show before we recorded this. But a lot of the droids, a lot of the planets, a lot of the background stuff that you might miss on a first or second viewing, if you watch the show on Disney Plus with closed caption on, you're going to get all those details. It's not like they were released or Lucasfilm sent me a list of characters. I turn on the closed caption. It's very, very beneficial.
Yeah, exact thing. Same exact thing. Like I usually wait for a second or a third viewing, and I was like, what am I missing right now?
Right, and it adds a lot. It's fun. I did that with Mandalorian too, and I think it helped a lot. Now let's take a quick break, and we will return with more conversation on Cornered. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
If you are getting ready to plan that Walt Disney World or Disneyland vacation, look no further than MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. And it is a no-cost, no-obligation quote. That's right. You can have them help you set up your vacation exactly how you want to make it work for you and your family. They'll give you all kinds of tips about what is the best day to go to what parks, how to use the park reservation system on either coast, and what the lines are like and what that means for you as far as planning and getting there when the park opens. And whether you are an experienced vacation planner or you are a first-timer, they can help you as well. They contact you throughout the trip to make sure things are going well, to give you suggestions and advice, or answer any questions that you might have, and you will have them when you're traveling on these amazing vacations. And there's nothing better than having Becky Mankin and her team at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel to help you as you go along. Becky Mankin and her team are fantastic, and I use them both for travel, for Coffee with Kenobi, and for my family vacation. So if you feel safe and comfortable traveling, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel will help you get to the Disney theme parks, the cruise lines when they open, the future Star Wars Halcyon, the Galactic Star Cruiser, and of course, Celebration 2022 in Anaheim. If you have any questions or want to go ahead and get a free, no obligation quote, please be sure to go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and let them know that Dan Z and Coffee with Kenobi sent you. So Echo, again, begrudgingly goes along with this. I kind of like seeing the bravado side of him away from the other clones, or away from the other members of the Bad Batch, and the fact that he played along but quickly took over. And Clink, again, shout out to Clink for being the most charming, smarmy, but ready to do good kind of a droid. This is the action figure that we're looking for. So super fun. What isn't fun, or maybe it is fun depending on what side of the coin you're on, is there's one character we haven't mentioned yet. I'm going to let Ross do the introductions, but we first see this character on her vessel, and then we see her mysteriously show up on this planet. Now Omega, she, of course, gets separated from Hunter because she sees a little cart that's wheeled by with Vorpax. Vorpax are the unusual I'd say dragon/lizard/dog looking creatures that were in Star Wars Resistance on the actual space station itself. And then we see a trooper doll, and this is especially why I was reminded of Batuu and Galaxy's Edge, because just like Jyn Erso has Stormy, the small stormtrooper, when Galaxy's Edge, the merchandise was created, they wanted some of the things in the marketplace to seem like it would actually be in world in Star Wars. We see a clone trooper doll, which has not been sold at Galaxy's Edge yet. Undoubtedly, that's going to happen very soon. But these two things distract Omega. She walks away, and then she runs into the antagonist in the episode. Ross, take it away, buddy.
Yeah. Once again, just over the moon to see Fennec Shand back on the screen. So Ming-Na Wen is just a treasure, and seeing her, hearing her, and then seeing the animation brought to life here of just like, oh, she's back, and now we're getting some more backstory was just so impressive. And she's so cunning. She's so deceptive and smooth. She's like a walking snake at times. Like, okay, how is she going to trick Omega into this? And, credit to her for not just grabbing her up and running away. She's trying to earn that trust. She's playing the long game. And I think you see that throughout the episode. Like, she's so calm and cool through all of it, knowing that, you know what, I will get her eventually. And, great job on the voice acting, great job by the animation, and, the call out of something as subtle as switching the knife hold that someone brought up on the show earlier as well. Yeah. And it was, she uses her mind to do things. She's getting overpowered by Hunter, and then, I'm going to headbutt him instead because he's completely pulling me back otherwise. So just seeing everything that she brought to it, like it was so Fennec Shand compared to what we've seen already from The Mandalorian.
Right. So a couple of things that great points. I watched this episode today with some students. One student had never seen The Mandalorian before, so this was her first introduction to Fennec Shand. And she said, so, Mr. Zare, is this character a good guy or a bad guy?
Yeah.
And I like that she wondered that, because I think that was very much there. Now, when she says to Omega, when she tries to excuse away stealing this fruit, whatever the fruit is, it's a Malaroon or whatever it is, that's a sure sign. And Omega is introduced to something interesting that she hasn't really seen. She's introduced to the world of gray. She's seen plenty of evil. She's seen plenty of good, but she's never seen gray before. This is very interesting, the way she was just, as an innocent child, looking at this thinking, something's not right here. Something is off. And I thought that was very cool. Fennec Shand, as you mentioned, Ross, she is playing the long game. She certainly is capable in a fight, as we're going to get to here very briefly, or very soon. But she also uses her wits and her charm and her ability to relate to people. She is charismatic. And if you consider where she is in The Mandalorian, so that's about 24 years between this and then, because you've got 19 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And then you've got, it's even longer than that. And then from A New Hope to Return of the Jedi, it's 3 years between Star Wars and the Empire, 1 year between Empire and Jedi, and then 5 years between Jedi and The Mandalorian. So I guess it would make sense with Ming-Na Wen's actual biological age, but she's got to be 18 or 19 years old in this. But Tom, she's still a fascinating character, isn't she?
Oh, absolutely. When that character came on, and Ross, every word you used to describe her were words that were going through my head when I watched this episode. Things were different when Fennec Shand showed up on the streets. Some things that I noted were, this is the first time we've really seen weakness in Omega, and it's what you'd said, Dan. It's the gray. She can put her finger on what's good and evil, but the sort of in between is a different game. And something I thought was interesting about Fennec Shand at this point was, I wondered why didn't she just, what went through my head was, why doesn't she just grab her and go? She easily could do that and probably very quickly get to her ship and get out. And the only thing that I could come up with that answered that question for myself is, I wonder if she sees a little bit of herself. I mean, we know nothing beyond what we currently know about Fennec Shan. And so I have to wonder, like, does she see a little bit of Omega and herself in that here's a girl on the street. She's a loner. She doesn't fit with this group of guys that she's with. And so, hey, I'm going to teach her some lessons here for survival. She's coming with me, but I'm going to teach a few lessons. I don't know. It doesn't exactly fit, but it's the only thing I can come up with to decide why didn't she just grab her? But I really felt like the show took at least this episode rather, took a sort of a different direction when she came on. It was that, like you said, that very cool, calm, collected, let's stick with the alliteration, cunning. And it was just like, okay, we have not seen this in this show. We're used to Tech, Echo, we're used to the Bad Batch, who are kind of like in your face. We are different. We're used to Crosshair and the Empire taking control and just wrangling someone out, into submission. This bounty hunter aspect from Fennec Shan changes the dynamics of the show. And I don't know. I'll wait for further comment on her, because I'm sure we're going to get into more of the action that she brings.
And the one thing that I would throw into that as well, Tom, is I found it incredibly interesting. Like she loses her innocence really quickly because that happens with Fennec Shan, but just beforehand she's watching Hunter deceiving the shop owner.
Oh, true.
And paying attention to that first. So she's getting back, like Fennec Shan's reinforcing, hey, this is necessary right now. We have to do this. So I think it's interesting that it builds off of that moment, because even there, she's kind of like, what's going on here?
Well, she also sees Hunter as definitely her father figure, almost gets killed, murdered in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
But she still seems to have her poise, but it's still pretty jarring. And Fennec Shan, of course, is one heck of a great shot. I mean, she says she never misses. She did miss here, fortunately, but only because fate intervenes. The fight with Hunter is fantastic. You mentioned earlier, Ross, how she rotates that knife in the palm of her hand while they're grappling with each other. Hunter eventually, I think it's probably reasonable to say, outmuscles her initially, but it's not easy to do. And then she just flat out headbutts him. She is an incredibly powerful force to be reckoned with. And I loved it. I loved it because I thought she clearly showed the Bad Batch is formidable, and there are many of them, but I'm Fennec Shan. And she is quite fascinating. But what is equally fascinating to me, maybe even more so, is when Wrecker shows up. Now, Wrecker and Tech have been working on the ship. And as you mentioned earlier, Tom, Wrecker basically just rips these massive, giant pieces of equipment out of the Marauder so Tech can do what he needs to do. And then he finds out that Omega is in trouble. So he races to find her because Tech has taken over all the security cameras, which are very reminiscent of the cameras from the Death Star, which I love. Then he's able to find her quickly. And then we're greeted, Tom, to this sequence that Star Wars and animation blend together so beautifully. Star Wars in tunnels and chase sequences in tunnels reminded me of season 7 of the Clone Wars with Ahsoka and Maul fighting each other. But talk to me about Wrecker and Fennec Shan's showdown. Is that what you expected to happen, or what did you think?
No, I figured that Fennec Shan would use a little bit more evasive action against Wrecker because of his physical prowess and his, military style. But she takes him head on and dispatches of him super fast. I mean, and I didn't quite catch exactly how it happened, but she got him down. She uses the steam pipe from the tunnel to sort of shoot into his face. And so I was not expecting that. And so this did not, like, things that were happening in this episode were not making sense to me. And again, it all had to deal with Fennec Shan. And so what I thought of was that, she has separated them. Together they are formidable. How many times in season 7 of Clone Wars did we talk about their ability to work together to achieve a goal? They move from one person's skill to the next person's skill to the next person's skill, and then they achieve their goal. They are all separated here. And you could make the argument that the only person, I mean, Tech's a little tricky on this one because he doesn't really get involved in the action, but Hunter and Wrecker do not have each other to support them. And so it becomes a little bit easier to deal with the Bad Batch when you split them up and separate them. And by the way, the other afternoon for dinner, I was getting a steak knife out of the drawer, and I had to do it. And so I did the knife flip, and I was like, oh, that actually feels good.
Is that why you had a bandage on your wrist?
That felt good to do that flip. Now, of course, I wasn't. I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So besides her cunning, her ability to separate them and take them on one at a time seems to be a strength of hers.
Awesome. All right, very cool. I love that. This is a fun episode. I mean, it's a fun episode because of what happens. In essence, she uses Wrecker's momentum and his strength and his girth against him and just casually evades him, and he smashes his head, gets knocked out cold, which we've never seen happen to Wrecker before. Yeah. And then we get treated to this epic chase sequence that I want to talk about. Certainly a lot of things to sort of digest here. I think we see Fennec Shand is a little more complicated than even we thought because of her unusual scruples here. During the great chase sequence where Omega is running, she's hanging from this railing in classic Star Wars style. There's jumping on these different these basic planetary vehicles that are racing. A lot of people talked about it. It reminded them of the beginning of Attack of the Clones where Anakin and Obi-Wan are chasing Zam Wesell. Certainly. Even the music echoes that as well. But the one thing that I thought really took me off guard, and it was certainly off-putting, and it's supposed to be, is Fennec Shand lands on this vehicle. There's this man that she grabs his vehicle. She slams his head into the steering wheel and then throws him, murders him into the. And that was certainly off-putting to me, Ross. What do you think about I mean, not necessarily that, but the chase sequence in general.
Yeah, I think that was that piece of, hey, this is the bounty hunter that we've heard about. There is a ruthlessness to her, and that's what makes it so fun seeing how she's working with Omega.
And less gray in that instance.
Yeah, and even where she's dropping her down onto that cargo vehicle.
Tuck and roll. Yeah,
she's teaching her even there, hey, here's a piece. Here's a piece of knowledge for you to take with you. So even in that dire circumstance where she's able to be motherly in one regard and then turn around and toss this guy, down levels and levels and levels to his death before more starts happening, it's fascinating to show that there is that Viper side of her where I'll be sitting here for a second, but I can strike that quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's important to see that. I mean, look, she was sort of personable to Omega, but she's still a killer. Yeah. She's still a killer. And it was a spectacular sequence, probably the most fun action sequence I think we've seen in the Bad Batch so far. Is that fair to say, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely.
That doesn't have Kanan Jarrus in it. Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say the opening of episode 1, but yeah, I mean, this is, full out chase. Like you said, reminiscent of the opening of Attack of the Clones, and some other, chase scenes in other areas, but this is very Bad Batch-esque. So yeah, I really enjoyed this sequence.
Any particular moments either you want to bring up besides the moment I talked about with Fennec Shand? Anything in this action sequence that you wanted to bring up?
I love seeing the driver with the headphones on listening to his music.
Oh yeah.
Like that.
The Pondo Baba lookalike.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, okay, what is and then that immediately makes me think of a Chasna Chaddock playlist from Alphabet Squadron of just like, oh, was
Yes.
that part of what her music is? So, because
my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, I still want a DJ to put all of that together so that we can get all of that music.
I love it.
Anytime they get onto a speeder bike, something fun's going to happen.
Yep.
Okay, so one thing I really enjoyed was when he was approaching the tower, that speeder bike makes that like hollow sort of howling. And she looks up and and I was like, oh, why did it have to do that? So that she knew he was coming. But no, I love all of the different iterations of the speeder bike, from the original Return of the Jedi to what we get now. And so anytime someone hops onto one of those bikes, it's going to be a good chase scene.
Yes.
And Dan, I think your point as well of she doesn't miss. Mm-hmm. So she showed that with the police officers that were following her as well. And that was
just boom right through the.
Yeah, if she doesn't intend to miss, she doesn't. So I think that factors into where this is going as well, potentially.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So eventually they do escape. Omega helps out a little bit by pulling a lever on this transport and raising the hydraulics and making her fall off, which again leads to the demise of that other. I was like, hey, and then they escape as we would expect. But it's pretty obvious that we haven't seen the last of her. There are two things that happen at the end that we should discuss. The resolution of what happens with Fennec Shan in this episode, and then the droids just being adorable. So we'll just talk about it now. There was nothing better for me than seeing Echo and all of these droids. Basically, they're going to work together like a pit crew at the Daytona 500, the Pantora 500. And they all assemble together. He's like, wait, you need a team? I don't remember the exact words that Echo says. He's like, I got this. And they all run in there, and Clink runs in there, and they make it happen very, very quickly. It was, gosh, I don't know why I love those droids so much, but they're so fun. I'm not necessarily a big droid person, but they're great.
No, I really enjoyed that as well. And Kaylee, my daughter, made a quick connection to that scene. She said, this is just like when Ahsoka befriends those droids on the Republic ship in season 7, and they help her out. And so she made that connection right away. And so I took it a step further and said, I wonder if droids have this sense of goodness in people and in their masters or their owners. And so they're so willing to just follow programming or follow the goodness of the programmer or the person giving the orders and just do what needs to be done and do what's right. And so we're kind of seeing like the side of a droid that responds to, I guess, goodness. But yeah, oh my gosh, when Echo's connection to those droids that are so immediate, even with the cantankerous one that's like, wow, I'm good. Oh my.
Yeah.
It is all like worked up like C-3PO would be.
CG-67.
Yeah. He quickly takes control of the situation and everybody's on board. Hey, that Clank, I think you're right. Clink is the leader of the astromechs and just is so willing to just go with it right away. Very charming, and plays a big role. I mean, this is kind of everyone always makes the argument that, well, no one would ever gotten anywhere in Star Wars without R2-D2. They never would have got the Marauder off the ground had it not been for these astromech droids.
True. And I think what I like about Clink is that even if he's not the leader, he's the leader in his mind. And that's pretty fantastic.
So true. So true.
Yeah. Ross, what were you going to say?
No, I completely agree. Like having that personality come through, and it sometimes it's who removed the restraining bolt, and that's just like, I'm going to be loyal to you now because you just gave me my freedom. So that's going back.
You rubbed the lamp and you freed us.
That's going back to Solo, which should happen today as well. In making Solo 2 happen, but it is. It's again a beautiful moment, and the droids make Star Wars Star Wars. So that it was fun to get someone that drew and made fans get so excited on social media almost immediately of who is this little droid, and seeing someone mock up a Black Series Clink in a box already and things. I just think this is beautiful.
Can I just say randomly and a little bit off the beaten path, I wanted Solo 2 to happen too. But everybody was so loud on social media. Where were you when it was in theaters? Why didn't you go see it? That's why we haven't had a Solo 2 yet. Okay, I'm back. Nice to see everybody. All right. Then let's talk about Fennec Shand. At the end, we've seen her murder a couple of people, few police officers on Pantora, and then that driver. But then when she goes back to the spaceport after they have left, and Raspar 6 is waiting, he's the one who hired her basically, or at least tipped her off to come down. We don't know who hired Fennec Shand. Excuse me, that's part of the fun. He thinks she's going to kill him. Boba Fett probably would have, but she does not. She doesn't at all. She pays him, right? And she says, if they come back, you know where to reach me. And then she leaves Ross, and this makes her a little more nuanced to me, a little more interesting, because I thought for sure she was going to kill him, and she didn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the long game. She's building her web of informants, and hey, he's thinking that she's going to off him. Like he's so concerned about that, and she flips him a credit, and hey, keep me in mind should you hear more. So, back to her being younger again, and this is how she evolves into this known entity throughout the Empire of, she'll find it and she'll get the job done. Right. So I think there's so much of that goes into it.
Speaking of Solo, would have been interesting. I wonder if she was actually on the lookout for Han Solo too.
You know what? The way the comic book series is going right now, I hope that she factors into that as well.
No kidding. Tom, anything you want to say about Fennec Shand? I found her, I think she's super cool, but I like the fact that she didn't kill Raspar. I just found it make her more complex instead of, she's gray, but she's a darker shade of gray. And then she isn't. She's got her own code. And that's going to play into
I was surprised. I expected, I definitely think so. Yeah, I mean, everyone expects her to walk in off the guy, and she's building her network. That's what she's up to. And Ross, you nailed it on the head with she's playing the long game. She might be young, but boy, she sure had a good mentor somewhere along the way. And be interesting to see any backstory that's available on her, because she's got a good head on her shoulders for the job that she does.
That's right. And I have no idea who's hired her, but I'm looking for it. It might be somebody simple as Lama Su, but I guess we're going to find out as this evolves. So, gentlemen, anything you want to add that we didn't discuss in this episode before we wrap things up? Tom, we'll start with you.
The main thing was that for me in this one that we talked about a little bit earlier was, this is the first time we've really seen Omega in danger because of her own just being naive in the world. She learned a few things on her, she's learned some things along the way, especially in like the case with the Nexu outside of Cut's house. But this one showed that there's still a lot for Omega to learn in the galaxy.
Yes, for sure. Ross, anything you want to add?
Yeah, and Tom, that's excellent. And I will build off of that and saying it's great seeing how she's learning these things. I think she's such a quick study and is so observant. Even thinking back to the very beginning scene where she's on the ship and they've decided that they're going to land there. And she says it again, Pantora. Like, I can't wait to do this right now. So she's bursting with energy and excitement and, hey, I'm away from Camino. I want to experience everything. And she's getting a little bit more than she bargained for, but who knows if that's a good or a bad thing, because sometimes you need to touch the stove before you realize that it's hot.
Right. It's true.
True.
It's very true. So we'll see how this evolves. I was grateful to see while she had a nice one with Hunter, it wasn't the same. I want there to be a little bit of variety to their arc, and we've got that. We got that in spades.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends, as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZareCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi. This may be my favorite episode of the series so far. Either way, it was great fun. Certainly great to talk with you, Ross Hollebon and Mr. Tom Gross as well. Please, gentlemen, we're going to let you both get a chance to share where people can continue the conversation with you. Ross, let's start with you.
Yeah, so at Ross Hollebon on Twitter and at PopstarIndie on Instagram, which is primarily Star Wars stuff. Occasionally you'll get a music or a sports thing thrown in there. Even with the Capitals getting eliminated from the playoffs last night. Just breaking my heart. But they're the main spots. And then also some writing for Fantha Tracks. So enjoying working with Mark Newbold and the opportunities that he provides.
Yes, Mark is great. As are you, buddy. So that's great. What a great connection there. Tom, what about you?
Oh, sure. You can reach me on Twitter at Draftline, DRAFTLINE. That's the biggest place to catch up with me. But also, I catch some of my writing on Blogger. The title of the blog is Seeking Positivity in the Galaxy.
A big thank you to Ross and Tom for joining me to talk about Cornered, the 4th episode in Season 1 of The Bad Batch. It's really turning out to be a really interesting show, and I'm very excited to see where the mythology is going to turn once we get more episodes of The Bad Batch. Naturally, you can catch the review every week on Coffee with Kenobi and Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, both on Facebook, our Facebook page, or go to coffeewithkenobi.com/live. You can certainly catch the show afterwards on our podcast feed, on our YouTube channel, or on Instagram TV on our Instagram account as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. And remember, this is the podcast you're looking for. We'll see you next time.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.